the crash that changed everything. The night sky was calm and quiet over a thick forest on Earth. The stars twinkled like tiny lights. But then, something strange happened. A streak of blue fire ripped through the sky. It wasn't a meteor. It was a ship. A small alien scout ship exploded high above the Earth, breaking into pieces. One pod, shaped like a glowing silver egg, shot downward, crashing into the forest with a loud boom. Trees snapped. The Earth shook. Animals ran. Silence followed. Inside the pod, a figure lay still. A young alien woman named Zira was unconscious, her breathing slow and shallow. Her skin was a soft violet color, smooth and glowing faintly. Her bodysuit was torn, and a thick green-blue liquid oozed from her side. She was badly hurt. Her translator device fixed near her neck blinked weakly. It was damaged during the crash. Without it, she couldn't speak or understand any human language. Hours passed. Birds returned. The smoke faded. Then footsteps approached. Man appeared, tall, strong, with a beard and kind eyes. His name was Eli, a former military medic and now a forest ranger. He had seen the fire in the sky and came to check it out. He stopped when he saw her. "What the hell?" he whispered. Zira's body was half out of the pod. Her breathing was shallow and her hand twitched. She was alive. Eli ran to her. His training kicked in. He pulled a small flashlight from his belt and checked her pupils. They were glowing gold. Her skin was cool to the touch, and her blood was glowing blue. "She's not from here," he said to himself, eyes wide. Zira opened her eyes slightly. She saw him, a creature with flat skin, strange hair, and soft eyes. She didn't know what he was, but he didn't feel like a threat. Her voice was a whisper. "Help." The translator sparked and shut off. Eli didn't understand her words, but he could see the fear and pain in her eyes. He gently lifted her in his arms. She was surprisingly light. "Hang in there," he said. "I'm not leaving you here." He took her to his cabin deep in the woods. It was quiet, away from the nearest town. No one would find her there. He laid her down on a soft bed and cleaned her wound. He couldn't figure out her biology, but he used what tools and knowledge he had. He kept her warm, gave her water. Hours turned to days. Zira woke up again, fully this time. Her body ached, but she could move. She looked around the strange room. The walls were wooden. The lights were dim. It was nothing like the metal halls of her ship. Eli walked in with a tray of warm food. Zira sat up fast, startled. "Whoa, it's okay," Eli said, raising both hands. She stared at him, confused. Then her stomach turned. She covered her mouth and ran to a corner, suddenly feeling sick. Eli rushed to help her. "Are you okay? What's happening to you?" Zira breathed hard. She didn't understand the words, but she felt strange. Something inside her was changing. She looked down at her stomach. It looked normal, but something was growing inside, and she didn't know why. Zira placed her hand on her belly, her heart racing. She had never been touched. She had never mated. And yet, she was sure. She was pregnant. But how? Zira couldn't sleep. She lay on the soft bed, staring at the wooden ceiling, listening to the strange sounds of Earth, crickets chirping, wind moving the trees, and the slow ticking of a wall clock. It was also alien to her, but not as alien as the thing inside her. She pressed a trembling hand to her belly. It looked the same, but something deep inside felt alive. She had never mated. She had never even been close to a male of her kind. So how? She sat up slowly, trying not to wake the human in the next room. Eli, the one who saved her. He didn't know her, didn't know anything about her people. And yet, he had brought her into his home, cared for her wounds, and gave her shelter. Back on her planet, that level of kindness didn't exist. Suddenly she heard footsteps. She quickly laid back, pretending to be asleep. Eli opened the door slowly. He carried a small bowl of hot soup and a piece of fruit. "You awake?" he asked, softly. Zira opened her eyes and slowly sat up. Her translator was still broken, so she could only listen without understanding. But his voice was calm and gentle. She nodded. Eli gave her the bowl and sat on a wooden chair nearby. "I still don't know what you are," he said with a slight smile. "But you're healing fast." Zira took a spoonful of the soup, sniffed it first, then slowly ate it. The taste was new, strange, but warm. Her body accepted it. She looked at Eli, then tapped her chest. "Zira," she said. Eli pointed at her. "Zyra?" He smiled. "That your name?" She nodded. He tapped his own chest. "Eli." She nodded again. A small connection had been made, but inside her, something else had awakened. Later that night, Zira stared at herself in a mirror in the small bathroom. Her skin was glowing slightly. Her belly had a soft pulse. She could feel the presence of another life form. She gently placed her fingers on her abdomen and whispered in her language, "What are you?" 2 days later, Zira's strength returned, quickly. She started moving around Eli's cabin, exploring carefully. Though they couldn't speak the same language, they found a way to communicate through gestures and drawings. But one morning, Eli found Zira unconscious on the floor. Her body temperature had dropped. Her heart rate was racing. He carried her to the bed and hooked up the strange alien device she carried in her pod. Some kind of scanner. The screen lit up, and what Eli saw shocked him. The device showed a small life form inside her body. He stared at the screen for several minutes. "She's pregnant," he whispered. "How? That's not possible." Zira woke up, weak and pale. She saw the screen and then his face. He was scared, not of her, but of what was happening to her. Eli pointed at the image. This is real?" She nodded slowly, but tears welled in her eyes. She had no answer, no memory of any physical contact, no explanation, no understanding of how a human, or anything on Earth, could cause this. Then Eli remembered something strange. When he first found her, her body was surrounded by a soft field of glowing particles. He had walked through them to reach her. His bare skin touched hers when he lifted, or could it have started there? Was it some kind of alien reproduction method? Was it even a pregnancy or something else entirely? Zira stood up, breathing heavily. Her hands glowed. Her eyes flashed gold. She didn't feel sick. She felt powerful, but unstable. That night, Zira walked into the forest alone. She stood under the moonlight and lifted her hand. A soft hum rose from her body. She wasn't just carrying a life form, she was changing too. She could hear the heartbeat inside her. Strong, fast. Not like a normal child. Something had awakened inside her during the crash. Or perhaps inside Eli during that first contact. She looked up at the stars. Something is watching, and it knows. Zira turned around and froze. In the darkness, a strange, glowing drone hovered between the trees. It wasn't human tech, and it wasn't hers either. Someone else had found her. The glowing drone made no sound. It floated silently among the trees, watching. Its red eye blinked once, twice, then vanished into the forest. Zira stood still, frozen. Her skin bristled. Her heart thudded. That drone wasn't human, and it definitely wasn't hers. That meant one thing. They were looking for her. She turned and ran back toward the cabin, branches scratching her arms and legs, her breath quick and sharp. She couldn't stay here anymore. She wasn't safe, and worse, Eli wasn't safe either. Zira sat quietly at the wooden table, her hands wrapped around a warm cup of earth tea. Eli sat across from her, eyes scanning a small notebook where he had written observations over the past week. "You're growing faster than any normal pregnancy," he said, even though she couldn't understand. "I don't even know if this is A child. It might be something else. Zira tilted her head. She couldn't follow his words, but she understood his tone, worried, confused, protective. She had been trying to study her own body. Her energy was rising. Her muscles were stronger, her senses sharper. Whatever was growing inside her, it was changing her too. Suddenly, she stood up. She walked to the mirror on the wall, lifted her shirt slightly, and stared at her belly. There was no bump, but she could feel it. A pulse, a throb, a silent signal between her and something within. Zira returned to her escape pod hidden deep in the trees. She brushed off leaves, opened the hatch, and climbed inside. The ship's core systems were mostly destroyed, but one screen still worked. She tapped it, entering a code only her species would know. The screen lit up. Project LUX-9, Experimental Gene Carrier. Status activated subject, Zira of House Tyrene. Warning, incompatible atmosphere detected, mutation level 67%. Estimated fusion time, 11 days. Her hands trembled. She read the words again. Fusion, mutation, gene carrier. It hit her. She wasn't just pregnant. She was part of a biological experiment. Back on her planet, scientists were trying to create a way for different species to merge DNA without contact. Without mating, through simple proximity and atmospheric triggers, they had used her, without her full knowledge. And now, the atmosphere of Earth had triggered the process. The child inside her wasn't a pure alien or pure human. It was a fusion, and it was still changing. A loud crack outside. Zira quickly shut the pod and peeked through the hatch. She saw nothing at first. Then movement, a dark shape standing between the trees. It was tall, armored, and carried a glowing weapon. Another shape appeared beside it, then another. They were not humans. They were her own people, trackers, and they had come to terminate her. Eli was outside chopping firewood when Zira came sprinting out of the woods. Panic on her face, she grabbed his hand, pulled him toward the cabin. "Hey, what's going on?" he asked, but followed anyway. She slammed the door and locked it, pulling down the curtain and grabbing the flashlight. She drew a picture quickly on a piece of paper. 3 armored figures with glowing weapons. Eli's face went cold. "Not human," he whispered. Zira pointed at her belly, then made an explosion motion with her hands. Eli understood the message. "They want to kill what's inside me." That night, Zira stood by the window. She held a sharp earth knife in her hand. Not much use against her people, but she would fight anyway. Eli walked up beside her and handed her a piece of armor he'd found in the wreckage, something she could wear as protection. They stood in silence. Then Zira placed his hand on her stomach. For the first time, he felt it, a tiny pulse. Not like a heartbeat, but a low hum, vibrating gently under her skin. The life inside her wasn't normal. It was something new, and it was growing stronger. Far in the dark forest, red eyes blinked again. One of the alien trackers raised a scanner. Target locked. Hybrid detected. Tomorrow night, they would strike. The night was silent. Too silent. Zira sat alone in the cabin, staring at the fire. The soft crackling of wood was the only sound, until a strange vibration rolled through her body, not outside, inside her. She held her stomach. There was a signal, a soft echo pulsing from the life growing within. It wasn't pain. It wasn't sickness. It was a message. But from whom? 12 years ago, Zira's home planet. Tyrene Zira was young, just entering the elite science academy. She stood inside a white chamber, her arm outstretched as a cold silver device scanned her blood. She remembered the scientist clearly. Director Kale, tall and silent, his eyes unreadable. "You are a perfect match," he had said. "For what?" she asked. He never answered. All she remembered after that was a bright flash and a single word echoing in her mind. Fusion. Now, Back on Earth, Zyra jolted awake on the floor beside the fireplace. Eli rushed in from outside. "Are you okay?" She looked up at him with wide eyes, confused and scared. She didn't have the words, but she didn't need them anymore. She grabbed a stick and drew shapes on the dusty floor. A star, her homeworld, a circle, Earth, a double helix, DNA, and then a triangle inside a circle, the fusion mark. Eli knelt beside her, staring at the symbols. "You were part of an experiment," he said quietly. She nodded. He sat back, trying to understand. "They used you." Zyra touched her stomach again. "Not just used, they changed her." Meanwhile, in the forest, 3 alien trackers set up camp in a clearing. Their suits were black with glowing veins of red light. One of them, the leader, held a device showing a pulsing dot, Zyra's signal. "She has activated the fusion," one said. "That is unacceptable," the leader replied. "She carries a mixed being. It must not survive." "But the hybrid is stable," the third said, hesitating. "It could be useful," the leader growled. "We were told to destroy it, all of it." He tapped the screen. Countdown, 18 hours. Later. That evening, inside the cabin, Zyra finally managed to reboot her translator. It buzzed and sparked, then glowed green. Eli looked at her. "Can you understand me now?" Zyra nodded slowly. "Yes, words are clear." He let out a breath of relief. "You need to tell me everything." She sat down, pulling the blanket around her. "They said it was harmless," she began, her voice soft and steady. "They needed test subjects for peaceful merging, not sexual, not physical, just DNA blending through contact." Eli blinked. "So when I carried you?" "Our genes mixed," she said. "My body was changed, and now, the result is inside me." He sat in silence. "How fast is it growing?" She hesitated. "Too fast. 10 days more, maybe less, then it will be born." Eli looked out the window. "We won't be safe here for that long." "I know," Zyra whispered. "They are close. Midnight, dream or warning." That night, Zyra had a strange dream. She stood in a white space, endless and silent. Before her was a child, her child. But it was glowing, floating, eyes pure gold. The child spoke without moving its mouth. "I am not just yours. I am the next step. They will fear me. You must not let them take me." Zyra reached out, but the child faded. She woke up in tears. At sunrise, Zyra and Eli packed a small bag and left the cabin. The tracker signal was growing stronger. They had to disappear. They hiked through the forest, deep into the mountains, using secret ranger paths only Eli knew. But Zyra struggled. Her body was changing. She could feel energy moving through her veins, her skin glowing faintly. Her steps became heavier, slower, and her mind was beginning to hear things. Voices, thoughts, not her own. Earlier that week, Zyra had copied data from her escape pod. She hadn't told Eli yet. Now, as they rested by a stream, she pulled out a small device and projected a hologram. It was a log. Kale's. Voice played. "Subject Zyra has accepted the fusion catalyst. If the experiment is successful, she will carry the first cross-species being in galactic history. It will not need a father. It will choose one. Through touch, emotion, or even thought. If the process succeeds, she will forget. Until the child begins to awaken." Eli listened, stunned. "You forgot on purpose," he said. "I didn't know," Zyra whispered. "They made sure I wouldn't." He stepped closer to her. "You didn't choose this." "No," she said. "But now, I must protect it." Zyra stood on a high cliff, wind in her hair, looking out over the valley. Far in the distance, she saw a red flare rise. "They found us," she said. Eli stepped beside her, shotgun in hand. Then let them come. But behind them, unseen in the mist, a fourth tracker, silent and cloaked, was already watching, and he had orders. Kill the human, bring the hybrid alive. The mountains were cold, silent, and cruel. Zyra and Eli had been walking for hours, each step heavier than the last. Her body was changing fast now. Her skin flickered with faint light, her breath came in sharp waves, and her heartbeat had doubled. But she didn't care about her pain. They were being hunted, and the hunters were not human. A soft click echoed through the trees. Eli froze. He knew that sound. It wasn't from any animal. He raised his hand to stop Zyra. Then a flash of red light streaked past his head and hit a tree behind them, burning straight through it. "Move!" he shouted. They ran. Behind them, 3 alien trackers appeared in the mist, tall, black-armored, with glowing red visors. They didn't shout. They didn't run. They hunted in silence. Each of them had one mission: recover the hybrid, eliminate everything else. Zyra stumbled, then growled, not in pain, but in rage. She turned around, raised both hands, and a wave of energy blasted from her body. The snow and leaves blew back in all directions. One tracker staggered, its visor cracked. The other 2 adjusted their weapons and fired again. Eli pulled her down just in time. "We can't outrun them," he said. Zyra looked at him, eyes glowing. "So I don't want to run anymore." Years ago, Zyra was trained as a pilot, not a warrior. But every pilot was taught survival, to fight, to hide, and most of all, to protect valuable cargo. And now, the most valuable thing in the galaxy was inside her. Not a weapon, not a secret, but a child who should not exist. Eli remembered an old cave system nearby. He led Zyra through the trees, then pushed away thick vines to reveal a narrow entrance. They slipped inside, crawling through dark tunnels until they reached an open space with smooth rock walls and a pool of underground water. It was cold, wet, cramped, but safe. For now. Zyra collapsed to the floor, breathing hard. Eli built a small fire. She looked at him. "I can feel it. The child. It's not afraid." Eli blinked. "How do you know?" She placed his hand on her belly. "You'll feel it too." And he did, not a kick, not a heartbeat, but a warmth, like someone whispering, "We are here." The leader of the trackers scanned the forest floor. They entered the mountain range. The second one hesitated. "She's no longer ordinary. Her energy is increasing. The fusion is working too well." The third added. The leader turned. "She must be terminated before the child is born. If she delivers, the result could destabilize our entire species. But what if the hybrid is peaceful?" The second asked quietly. The leader raised his weapon. "Then peace will die with her." Zyra sat up suddenly, grabbing her head. "I hear them." Eli stepped close. "Who?" "My people. They speak without voices. They are near, closer than I thought." She looked toward the dark tunnel. "One of them is already here." Eli raised his flashlight and saw something move in the shadows. Then a voice echoed softly. "You disappoint us, Zyra." A fourth tracker stepped into the firelight, unmasked. His face was like hers, same soft purple skin, same glowing eyes. She gasped. "Riven. My sister," he said. "You were chosen. You were perfect. And now, look what you've become." "I became something new," she replied. "Something better." Riven stepped forward. "Give us the child, we'll protect it. You and the human don't belong together." Eli stood, weapon in hand. "She's not going anywhere." Riven narrowed his eyes. "You think she's yours?" "She's a mistake." Zyra stood beside Eli. "This human is not my mate, but he is my choice. And this child is not a mistake. It is hope." Riven's eyes flickered with doubt, but only for a second. Then he raised a small device and pressed a button. The cave walls shook as a low-frequency signal blasted through the air, meant to disrupt Zyra's energy. She cried out, falling to her knees. The child inside her pulsed harder, resisting the wave. Eli charged at Riven, tackling him to the ground. They fought. Riven was strong, But Eli was faster. He slammed the alien's head against the rock, grabbing the device and smashing it with a stone. Zyra's glow returned. She stood up, eyes burning with power. Enough. A pulse of golden light exploded from her body, filling the cave with blinding brilliance. Riven hit the wall hard and fell unconscious. Eli rushed to Zyra. "Are you okay?" She nodded, but her voice was weak. "It's coming. Soon." Far, above the mountain, the other 3 trackers saw the flash of light from the cave. One activated a beacon. The sky answered. A massive alien dropship appeared through the clouds, silent and deadly, descending toward Earth. Inside it were more soldiers. More weapons and a single command: bring back the hybrid alive, no matter the cost. Rain poured from the sky like a flood from the heavens. Thunder cracked across the mountain peaks, and lightning lit up the forest in flashes of ghostly white. The storm had arrived without warning, sudden and furious, as if the planet itself knew something powerful was about to be born. Zyra clutched her belly as another wave of pressure rolled through her. Her body shook. Her knees buckled. She dropped to the ground just outside the cave entrance, the wind howling around her like a wild beast. Water soaked her silver bodysuit, and steam rose from her glowing skin where the rain touched. Eli dropped beside her, shielding her from the rain with his coat. "It's time, isn't it?" he asked, panic in his voice. Zyra could barely speak. "The child, it's coming." Eli looked around. They had to get back inside the cave, but she was too weak to move. He slid his arms under her and carried her back through the narrow rock tunnel, deeper into the dark. He laid her gently on the flattest spot he could find. His hands trembled. Zyra's breathing was rapid. Her body pulsed with golden energy. Her eyes flickered between pain and power. "I don't know how to help you," Eli whispered. She reached up and touched his chest. "Just stay." Outside, the dropship landed. The alien soldiers moved quickly, silent and focused. Their red visors lit up the trees as they spread out, heading toward the cave. They had tracking devices, they had weapons, they had orders. Inside the cave, Zyra screamed, not in fear but in something older, deeper. The force building within her surged like a star ready to explode. Symbols formed in the air above her belly, glowing runes only her people could read. Eli watched in awe as her skin shimmered like crystal, her body lifting an inch off the stone floor. The child was not being born in the way humans knew, it was arriving. As if reality itself was reshaping. Energy filled the cave. Eli was pushed back by a wave of heat and light. He shielded his eyes, and then, silence. Zyra collapsed. Her eyes were closed. She was breathing, alive. In her arms, wrapped in a soft aura of gold light, was a small figure. The child, not fully alien, not fully human, but something entirely new. Its skin was smooth and silvery pale, with small lines of glowing gold running from its forehead to its chest. Its eyes opened, pure white, no pupils, and blinked at Eli. It didn't cry. It simply stared. Eli knelt beside Zyra. "You did it." She opened her eyes slowly. "No, we did." Suddenly, a sharp sound rang out. The echo of boots on stone. Eli turned, pulling out his weapon, but it was too late. 3 alien soldiers entered the cave. Their weapons, raised one pointed directly at the child, handed over. Zyra held the baby tighter. "No." The leader took a step forward. "It does not belong here." Eli stepped between them. "You'll have to go through me." The alien aimed at Eli's head. Then, everything stopped. Time itself seemed to pause. The flames froze. The raindrops stopped in midair outside the cave. The child blinked once, and then it spoke. Not with a voice. Not in a language, but into the minds of everyone present. "I belong to no one. I am not a weapon. I am not a threat, but I will not be taken." The weapons shattered. The soldiers fell to their knees, gasping. Their suits sparked, their visors cracked. Something inside them changed, and then one by one they dropped their weapons and stood. The leader looked at Zira, then at the child. "We were wrong." Zira nodded slowly. "Yes." Outside, the sky began to clear. The rain faded. The lightning stopped. The mountain went still. The soldiers backed away slowly, leaving the cave, their minds heavy with something they could not explain. Zira looked down at the child. It reached up, touching her face. She smiled through tears. Eli sat beside them, breathless. "What now?" Zira looked out of the cave at the dawn rising over the trees. "Now," she said, "we raise a being born of two worlds, and pray the galaxy is ready." Behind them, carved into the cave wall by energy no tool could mimic, a message now glowed in alien script. From fusion comes balance. From balance comes change. And the child's eyes closed again, resting peacefully in the arms of the only mother it had ever known. But far above, in the black void of space, others were watching. They would come, and next time, they would not come in silence. Snow blanketed the forest, soft and untouched, hiding the scars left behind from the last battle. The world had gone quiet, like the earth itself was holding its breath. But deep beneath the silence, something had changed forever. Zira stood on a hilltop, her child held close against her chest. The sky above was clear, full of stars, yet none of them felt like home. Not anymore. The child, now 2 days old, didn't cry. It didn't sleep like other infants. It watched. Always watching. Its eyes were silver, glowing faintly even in daylight. It had not yet spoken again, not with its voice, not with its mind, but its presence was always there, calm and strong. Eli stood beside her, rifle slung over his shoulder, scanning the tree line. He could feel it too. The pressure in the air, the strange tension that came before something big. "They're coming back, aren't they?" he asked quietly. Zira didn't answer right away. She looked toward the horizon. Not just them. The fusion had not gone unnoticed. The shockwave the child released had echoed into the stars, into the minds of those who watched for such things. Zira's people weren't the only ones experimenting. Others would come. Some curious, some afraid, some wanting to take, and some wanting to destroy. Back at the cave, the alien soldiers who had spared them had disappeared without a trace. Their dropship had vanished. No sign, no transmission. As if the child's presence had rewritten their purpose, or erased them. Zira didn't trust peace that arrived too easily. That evening, Eli and Zira built a shelter deeper in the mountains, hidden beneath layers of ice and stone, a place not even drones could scan, not even satellites could reach. Inside, they carved a symbol into the stone, a circle and a triangle, the mark of fusion. Eli taught the child human things: speech, emotion, survival. Zira taught it control, balance, energy. The child learned. Quickly, too quickly. It could move objects with a glance, heal small wounds with a touch. It never slept more than a few hours, and it aged faster than any child should. In just a week, it looked nearly 2 years old, but its mind was something far older. One night, it sat outside by the fire watching the stars. "Are you afraid?" Eli asked it gently. "No," the child replied, voice calm. "But you should be." Zira turned sharply. "Why?" The child looked at her. "Because I remember." "Remember what?" "The other place, before I came here, before the light, before I chose." Zira's blood went cold. "You chose to be born?" The child nodded. "I was not made by mistake. I was called." Eli stared. "By who?" The child didn't answer. Instead, it pointed toward the sky. That night, a second signal arrived. A deep vibration shook the mountain. Lights danced in the clouds above, blue and purple streaks that bent and twisted in unnatural shapes. Zyra grabbed the child and ran to Eli. "They found us." "Not your people?" he asked. "No," she whispered. "Something worse." The stars shimmered, a tear in the sky opened, like a rip in fabric, and from it, a massive structure emerged. It wasn't a ship. It was alive, breathing, moving. Something ancient, something watching. Zyra's skin pulsed with fear. Her markings flared bright. The child stepped forward. "I will go," it said. "No," Zyra and Eli shouted together, but the child turned. "This is why I came, to face them." It raised a hand, and the air folded inward. Space itself bent around the child. From the sky, the being inside the living ship spoke, not with words, but through the mountain, the wind, the fire. "Give us the fusion, the experiment ends now." Zyra stood firm, her body between them. "No." Eli lifted his rifle, knowing it would do nothing. But the child placed its hands on the ground. Sion. Earth trembled, trees bent. The stars flickered. "No more running," the child whispered. A ring of energy exploded outward from its body, reaching the sky, touching the ship, touching the stars. The rip in space closed. The sky went silent again. No ships, no voices, just wind. The child fell to its knees, weak but alive. Zyra rushed forward, holding it tight. "You don't have to protect us," she cried. "I wasn't protecting you," the child said softly. "I was protecting them from what I could become." Eli dropped beside them, staring at the child with new fear. "What are you really?" The child looked up. "I am choice. I am the line between what was and what can be. And one day, others like me will come." Zyra pulled the child closer. "You won't be alone." "No," the child said, "but I will always be different." Time passed. Seasons changed. No more ships came. But the stars never looked the same again. Somewhere, in the galaxy, others had seen the signal. The fusion was real. The child had survived, and Earth had become something new. A beginning.